Well, hello, everybody who's listening.
Hello.
We have nothing quippy to start before I play the
intro.
The intro this time. So here we go.
Oddity Files.
Podcast. All things creepy,
Cryptic.
otherworldly.
You guys are listening to Oddity Files, the
podcast.
podcast. We're a creepy, cryptid, otherworldly, snarky storytelling, pretty much podcast. Yeah. So I added recently to my socials where you're supposed to describe yourself as storyteller.
Ooh, that's good and accurate.
Well, because we tell stories of
Yes.
ghosts we investigate. And
we tell the stories of others.
Exactly. And then I got the get scared thing going on where I tell
absolutely
fucking awesome stories. The one that went up this week is by a friend of mine named Zach Daggy.
Okay.
And back when Chris and I were doing like the horror filmy stuff, we had filmed a short film for him from his book called Dark Worlds. And it turned out really neat. He had paid to bring in actors and all this, that and the other. And so I got to read a different story from that book. So if you guys haven't checked it out, it's Get Scared Podcast, not Kit Scared, because apparently I sound like I'm saying Kit Scared. But yeah, I'm really excited about just these awesome freaking writers.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Yeah.
And it gives them a good platform to come forward because sadly there aren't enough platforms.
There really aren't.
Yeah.
There really aren't. Oh, I do have an announcement.
Ooh.
So in March, I should probably bring up the actual date, but I am going to hang out with our good friend Tiffany Rice from tiffanyrice.com. She's a spirit medium. We've both had readings from her. She is the real fucking deal. And she invited me to go to one of my bucket list locations with her. And she's going to do a 1-hour reading, and it's super limited. It's like 10 people are allowed in. And everybody's guaranteed a reading from Tiffany and whoever comes to her. And then I'm going to lead an investigation with Tiff afterwards of Maplecroft.
So cool.
So those who don't know what Maplecroft is, everybody's heard of the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. And the first time I actually went on a tour there, they're like, well, after everything was all said and done, Lizzie went on to be Lizbeth. And she bought a house called Maplecroft up on the hill. It was like her dream home. She lived this fucking fabulous life.
Yes, she did.
Hanging out with theater actors and partying all the time. And when they told me that story, I'm like, oh, that's where I want to investigate. I don't even want to go to the Lizzie Borden house. I want to go to Maplecroft. So dreams are coming true. Super excited. It's Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. And it's up on the hill at Maplecroft. It's 306 French Street in Fall River, Massachusetts. Only 10 tickets are available. Words are fucking hard. And just go to tiffanyrice.com. Yeah. The event's listed on there. It's so close to selling out already.
Really?
Insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That really is cool.
So yay. That was my shit I needed to talk about. What's going on with you?
Not too much, really. It's been pretty chill. Can't complain about that.
Like chill as in, we're going to talk about the temperature of your house.
Oh,
that's okay?
Yeah, the house has been okay.
Because it's fucking cold out now.
It is cold.
Yeah.
It's just how we talked about earlier. Now they've just cranked the furnace up. So
you've lost 10 pounds.
Right. And we'll see how that bill looks when it comes in. But, to be determined. But no, nothing like too crazy, which I'm not mad at.
No.
I feel like everything's just been nonstop recently.
I feel like you need that.
Yeah.
I felt like you've needed that for a hot minute.
A long time, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. So you're just kind of hanging out doing Clayton shit.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Also, one more thing I need to announce, just because KJ is a friend of both of ours, headed out to podcast with her this week for the Kind of Nerdy Girls podcast.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, you have to be here by this time, and I have to be done by this time, because she's going to call her cat whisperer.
That's the most KJ thing.
It's the most KJ thing ever. And so I'm like, intrigued at this point. So, you know, I don't know that I've ever watched like The Dog Whisperer or anything like that. I'm like, how does this work?
I thought it was when like there was a dog that like had bad behavior and they would come in and like
well, one of her cats is bullying another cat. So,
of course.
Yeah. So I'm like, so does she just like ask you questions and give you answers? She's like, no, I'll like have the phone. And she's like talking to somebody who's not there, which is the cat.
What?
So, yeah. I wanted to stay and witness
Did you?
that. No, I didn't. It was late. And plus it took me an hour and 40 minutes to get up that day.
Whoa.
Insane. Traffic. Ugh. But yes, there are cat whisperers that do phone conversations.
Oh, of course there are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was, like you said, the most KJ thing
The most KJ
ever.
thing ever.
One of her cats gets Reiki healed. She's actually a pet Reiki healer.
Oh my gosh.
KJ shit. But check out her podcast. It's Kind of Nerdy Girls podcast. It's on all this stuff and all the things. We talked about all kinds of fun stuff. And that's what we do. It's such a different podcast format than what we do because we go in, we have our stories, we have our news, and we're done. This, we just sit there and talk shit for a couple hours. Yeah. It's a good time. Funny story, kind of paranormal in the newsy.
Okay.
Because last week we talked about the Washington Department of Transportation and how they had spotted Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And you came to find out later that you would, after we were done podcasting, you pulled up the cameras and Bigfoot was still on there. So,
cars driving by, everything.
Yeah. So that was debunked, if you will.
Sure.
Good job, Clayton. And
good job, them.
Yeah. Everybody was talking about it. But funny story, Bruce Campbell claimed to be said Bigfoot on Twitter. So that man is insane. And we love him for it. And I really fucking hope it was him just standing there in like the Bigfoot pose. That guy. Gotta love him. So those of you that are listening, everything's going to be on point, and we're going to get through this because we have 3 episodes to record.
We do have 3 to record today.
I'm off to Disney next week, and the following week you're on the cruise again.
Yep.
Go see Wah Wah, DJ Jimmy.
Right.
And you're taking your mom?
I am.
Is she super stoked?
She's so excited. She's so. My mother is one of those people. She just loves cruising.
Oh yeah.
And so she's just going to be in her element with her hat and her book and
her SPF 52. His mother is wonderful. She actually came out to our podcast in Louisville for the first time, wasn't it? No, she was at the library.
She surprised us at the library.
Yes, that was wonderful. I love Leslie. I guess we should kind of get to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we've kind of discussed, we've got this kind of story, this kind of story, and this kind of story. So I am going to start with the cryptid.
Perfect.
Did you go first last week?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
So this comes to us because April on Twitter, one of our listeners, said, I can't believe you guys haven't done a story on the Mothman. And she's right, because I had to go through everything, and we haven't.
Yeah, we haven't.
It's like we talk about Bigfoot all the time and several other cryptids all the time, but Mothman we never really cover. But I actually know quite a bit about this cryptid, or so I thought I did. And I don't even know why. But after doing this story, I think I kind of figured out why.
Okay.
But there's been so many stories over the years in like the actual legit news about it that I think that's where it all stems from. Yeah. Even before I was into all this weird shit, I knew what the Mothman was. So again, a tweet from listener April asking why we've never done a story on this winged critter got me thinking it wouldn't probably be such a bad idea. And I was terrified you were going to do the story as well. So I'm about to tell you the story of the Mothman, and the story goes a little something like this. On November 12th, 1966, 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery near Clendon, West Virginia, claimed to have seen a man-like figure fly low from the trees over their heads. This is often identified as the first known sighting of what became known later as the Mothman. But the one that got the most coverage, the story that got the most coverage and introduced by the world to the man that is a moth was the infamous Scarberry and Mallette's Mothman sighting on November 15th, 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Have you heard this story?
I've not.
Okay. It's a good one. Snots everywhere. On November 15th, 1966, two young couples were joyriding around in their black 1957 Chevy to a remote hangout spot north of Point Pleasant known as the TNT area. So they both have the same last names like the couples did in the story. So I'm not sure if they were married back then.
Okay.
But they were going to, like, what I'm figuring is like make out point.
Sure, I'm with you.
Which is a TNT area, which is really fucking weird. One of the couples was Lisa Scarberry and Roger Scarberry, and the other was Steve Mallette and Mary Mallette. When they got there next to the abandoned North Power Plant, so this TNT was near this, I don't know, it's this like whole abandoned area is kind of what I was picturing in my head. They suddenly saw two large red eyes which reflected the light from the car's headlights. Steve noticed it first and pointed it out to the group. That's when they are said to have noticed the glowing red eyes belong to a strange creature. They claim to have seen a gray man-like figure with wings go around the corner at the old power plant. So I kind of picture it's like, you know, when they talk about shadow figures and ghosts, it kind of leans out and comes back in. They said that the creature didn't run, but wobbled.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
I couldn't not leave that in because I'm picturing like this little Mothman like wobbling around. Because it couldn't keep its balance.
Yeah.
So maybe it was drunk. Or maybe the power. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Linda described the creature as having circular, fiery red eyes and a body like a man, but with wings. They said the creature was about 6 or 7 feet tall. I mean, that's a big difference. Is it 6 or is it 7 or is it in the middle? With wings folded against its back. Half man, half monster, she said. You could see the muscles in its legs.
Yikes.
Yeah. So the couples couldn't believe what they had seen. They quickly drove off onto Route 62. Linda yelled for Roger to hurry. The couples then saw the creature on a hill by a large billboard as they went around a curve. It spread its wings and went straight up into the air. Like superhero style is how I'm picturing it.
Why is he called Mothman and not like Butterfly Man?
You wait. Okay. There's actually a really good reason. So, freaked out, they started to drive back to town while they tried to figure out what to do next. The girls wanted to go to the cops, of course. Mm-hmm. But the boys thought, oh, hell no. No one's going to believe us. Right. Until they realized the freaking thing was following them. They were all terrified and kept yelling to the driver to go faster. The Mothman began gliding back and forth over the back end of their car. Freaking out. I would totally be freaking out. As they went along a straight stretch of road, they were going over 100 miles an hour, which is a lot for a 57 Chevy. But the creature was still able to follow them. They saw it in the back window and saw the shadow go across the car as it flew. They couldn't get away from it. They could also hear the wings hitting the top of the car as they drove.
Oh my gosh.
Those had to be some heavy fucking wings. It's even said that he left scratch marks on Roger's 57 Chevy.
How dare he?
I know. It squeaked like a big mouse, Mary said. Yeah. Cool. They were able to get away from the Mothman. When they reached the edge of Point Pleasant, the creature just disappeared, veering off into a field as they went into town. Crazy. They drove back into town and parked at Tiny's Diner and decided to contact the police. I'm picturing them sitting around drinking milkshakes, you know.
Like in a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like a very diner-esque building.
Exactly. Like legit a scene from Grease. Don't judge me. I'm going to picture, you know, the guys in leather jackets, the girls in poodle skirts. So anyway, the teens told their story to Deputy Millard Halstead. They told police they saw a large winged creature whose eyes glowed red when the car headlights would pick it up. So it's not like it was always glowing red. It's like a deer. Yeah. They described it as a flying man with 10-foot wings.
Whoa.
Following their car. So, of course, Deputy Halstead didn't believe a word they fucking said, but knew that they weren't troublemakers and saw that they were genuinely terrified. And that's how I judge shit. Like when I see stuff on YouTube,
Right.
I'm like, I want to know how the person filming it is reacting. So he actually went out to investigate their story. The couples drove back out to the TNT area with the deputy. Millard shined a spotlight around the area, including the tree lines. Deputy Halstead is said to have heard strange static disturbances coming from his radio that he couldn't explain. That piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Totally. But he found no sign of the creature itself, just the weird interference on his walkie-talkie-ish thing. So the following day, the sheriff, George Johnson, held a press conference, as people did back then. Now we just tweet about it. The local press began printing the story and named the creature Mothman, based on the comic book character from the Batman TV series that was very popular in the 60s. I thought that was fucking cool.
That is really cool.
Steve Millett told the local newspaper, "We understand people are laughing at us, but we wouldn't make up all this just so we would look like idiots." Yeah. I mean, that's a paraphrasing of the quote. I mean, Mothman is named after a comic book character. I'm still stuck on that. How did we not know that? It's funny that you even asked where it came from. Needless to say, the news spread like wildfire. Large crowds had already gathered in the TNT area by the next night, as of course. Within the week, the papers had already named the creature and were picking up on similar sightings, as well as speculating different explanations of what was going on. The media storm continued throughout 1966 and 1967. The story was printed locally, nationally, and internationally. It went over the Associated Press wire and was even featured in the Pacific Stars and Stripes newspaper, which went out to the American troops in Vietnam.
Whoa.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So the Scarberry couple said that they experienced strange occurrences and poltergeist activity in their homes throughout 1966 and 1967. Odd. Is it a ghost of a Mothman? Yeah. Linda claimed to have seen the creature many times, including once on the roof of their home. She said it seems like it doesn't want to hurt you, but it just wants to communicate with you. But more and more sightings were reported in the Point Pleasant area over the next year as the legend of the Mothman took shape. The Gettysburg Times reported 8 additional sightings in the short span of 3 days following the first claims, including 2 volunteer firefighters who supposedly saw what they described as a very large bird with large red eyes. One sighting reported by Salem, West Virginia resident Newell Partridge told of strange patterns that appeared on his television screen one evening, followed by a mysterious sound just outside the home. So you've got the interference. And then, but it's just a sound.
Sure, yeah.
So, take it or leave it. He shined a flashlight in the direction of the noise. Oh, I take that back. Partridge supposedly witnessed 2 red eyes resembling bicycle reflectors looking back at him, but just the eyes.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to lie, before I became a weirdo about all this shit, I had heard of the Mothman, but had nothing to do with West Virginia or Point Pleasant. I'm a Chicago girl, born and raised, and I remember clear as day when the Chicago sightings started. It started in 2011 and peaked in 2017, so that's a long period.
Yeah.
It still remains unknown whether the Chicago Mothman is a subspecies of the... It's a stretch. A subspecies of the West Virginia Mothman, or the same species, or the same dude. Who knows? Or whether it perhaps is just a heron caught in a garbage bag. Because there's actual video of Chicago sightings. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. It could be Mothman, but it could be a heron.
Well, 2011 to 2017, like, people absolutely just take videos of everything.
Yes. One of the videos I saw was just like somebody on like a rooftop party. And it's just like off in the distance. Nobody else is reacting to it, but he's like taking a video going, what the fuck is that? It was pretty good. In the city, moth folk are spotted all over, though most often by bodies of water. An anonymous witness claimed in 2017, "We were watching and observing as the moon begins to transit while we heard a very loud scream. This sounded like a squeaky truck brakes," say that 10 times fast, "that squeal when you're pressing hard on them," which everybody knows what that is. At first, we thought maybe it was a CTA bus or a big truck just stopping because their brakes needed to be changed. And we heard it again. This time it lasted for about 3 seconds, which, unless you really need a brake change, that's not going to happen. And the previous sounds were just super short and brief, like somebody stopping. I looked up to see a large object flying over the docks that stick out into Burnham Harbor from across the water. This object looked like a large black bat, but also had humanoid features such as pronounced arms and legs. Another Chicago native who goes by Just Jeff had this to say to the Chicago Reader. "At first I thought it was a bird, but none like I'd seen before because it was just so huge and the way it was flapping its wings. The longer I watched it, I was like, what the hell is that thing? It was freaky." A woman walking her dog claimed she encountered a creature standing in the park. She saw a large man, probably 7 feet or taller, standing on the ground. According to the account published by Lon Strickler, it was solid black, but what really stood out were the large, and I do mean large, pair of wings that were folded behind him. I'm walking my dog in a park. That's the last thing I want to see. And then this account of a Chicago truck driver became public in just December 2019. And this, next time we go to Rosemont, we're going to have to look for the goddamn Mothman. I was at the airport picking up a load in Nippon. I was already cornered at a dock and was standing far from the truck smoking a cigarette while my truck was being loaded. I was looking towards the slopes in the direction of the tunnel, and that was when I noticed something that really looked like a large bird standing just outside the parking fence. It was not difficult to miss him because there were 2 lampposts nearby. He looked like a person with wings spread and fluttering. He walked away from the fence to the open field and then began to flap his wings and disappeared. So apparently this is one of several alleged Mothman sightings in Rosemont, Illinois.
Sure.
Which we are there
all the time.
Often.
Yeah.
Very often. Is just ever so slowly, is he making his way west? I mean, if the guy would just chill out and have a conversation, maybe we could get answers, because the one lady said he just wanted to communicate, and we want answers. Answers. So there you have it, kids. Some of the stories of the Mothman, and my computer auto-corrected every single Mothman to Motorman. Hence, I mean, not that I don't stumble anyway, but I can't believe I didn't say Motorman once. My wingmen for this story were Wikipedia, allthatisinteresting.com, themothman.fandom.com, npr.org, and mysteriousuniverse.com. So there you have it. Some of the stories of Mothman. But, there's the theory that Mothman is the word harbinger right? But he predicts doom in areas.
Oh, yeah.
Because I guess after this whole Point Pleasant thing, one of the bridges collapsed and killed like 40 plus
Oh my
people,
gosh.
like right after that. I don't know. I can't think of anything that's happened in Chicago recently.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so many interesting things, and you can't cover it all in one story. But that's my Cliff Notes version of the Mothman. Thank you so much, April, for suggesting that, because I was struggling for stories.
So I'm doing the Maury Island Incident.
Ooh.
Are you familiar?
No.
So in 1947, Maury Island, it's one of the lesser known Washington State UFO occurrences, but it absolutely should be better known for several reasons. So it's probably the first incident where a witness claimed that a quote-unquote man in black intimidated him into silence. Now, we've heard that 100 times.
Yes,
that
I love those stories.
But this is, like, if you look at dates, this is, like, the furthest back that I could find.
Okay.
And this one took place before of course, the famous Roswell crash. So that was the first one that people were like,
okay.
you know.
Yeah.
Yet there are a ton of similarities between the two. Moreover, the two military intelligence officers that were investigating the sightings died tragically before they could, like, give their accounts.
What?
Yeah, crazy. So in 1947, a common hazard in the waters of the Puget Sound was logs that floated on its surface. They escaped from just like jams, you know, waiting to be turned into lumber at the nearby mills. Several men worked as an informal harbor patrol, snagging these logs and taking them to the mills for salvage. Just like they gave you an additional fee if you just like went and picked up these, you know.
Kind of like people who pick up scooters on the side of the
exactly.
road.
So Harold Dahl worked on one of these boats, and his supervisor on shore was Fred Chrisman. Dahl reported that on June 21st, he was on his patrol boat with two men, his son, and their dog. So around 2 p.m, Dahl's boat approached the east shore of Maury Island. Maury Island is now attached to Vashon Island by a causeway road, and is about 6 miles west of Des Moines, Washington, if any of you are, you know, around there familiar.
Didn't even know there was a Des Moines, Washington.
Me either. Dahl looked into the sky and saw 6 floating objects about 2,000 feet above his boat.
Oh.
The objects were made of some reflective metal, donut-shaped, and about 100 feet in diameter.
Fuck!
The center holes were about 25 feet in diameter. Dahl said that he saw round portholes and what he thought was an observation window. 5 of the craft circled over the 6th, which lowered slowly, essentially. Mm-hmm. It stopped and hovered about 500 feet above the water. Dahl put to shore because he was afraid the center aircraft was going to crash into his boat. So once ashore, Dahl took several photos with his camera. The lower ship stayed in position for about 5 minutes, with the others still circling above it.
Yeah.
One of the ships left the formation and moved down, touching the lower ship. The two kept contact for several minutes until Dahl said he heard a thud. Suddenly, thousands of pieces of what looked like newspaper dropped from the center ship.
What?
Most of the debris landed in the bay, although some hit the beach. Dahl recovered a few pieces, finding it was white and a lightweight metal.
Nothing exploded. He heard a thud, and then these things dropped.
Like they were just releasing something. Along with the white metal, the ship dropped about 20 tons of dark metal, which he said looked like lava rock. When the lava rock hit the water, it was so hot that steam erupted.
What?
They took cover after several pieces landed on their boat, damaging it. Some debris hit his son in the arm, burning him, and another piece killed the dog.
No, not the puppy.
I know. I was like,
oh my God.
What? After the rain of metal, the craft rose in the air and headed west out to sea, all of them together.
Okay.
Dahl went to his boat and tried to radio for help, but it did not work. They sailed back toward their dock, dropping the dog over the side as a burial at sea.
Oh, puppy.
Dahl took his son to the hospital for treatment and then told his boss, Fred Chrisman, what had happened. Dahl gave Chrisman the camera, and when the prints were developed, they showed the strange airships.
Where are these pictures?
However, the negatives have spots on them, which he compared to film damaged by exposure to radiation.
Really?
Yeah. So Chrisman said that he did not believe Dahl's story, but nevertheless, he went back to that island where he gathered up some random rock samples. He said that while he was there gathering rocks, an airship appeared overhead.
Get the fuck out.
As if it
was... This is the best UFO
him.
story ever. So well documented.
Dahl told investigators that next morning, a man wearing a black suit visited him and suggested that they go to breakfast together.
Ooh.
Dahl drove his own car, following the stranger's car to a restaurant. While they ate, the stranger asked no questions. Instead, he gave a detailed account of what had happened to Dahl that day.
Oh, so he explained what
Yes.
happened.
The man in black warned Dahl that bad things would happen to Dahl and his family if he told anyone about the incident.
What did the guy tell him?
Classic, right? So Dahl and Chrisman, now both having seen these ships,
Yeah.
sent a package to a publisher, Ray Palmer, in Chicago. The package contained a box of metal fragments, a statement about the strange incident on the 21st and 22nd of July. A few weeks later, Palmer contacted Kenneth Arnold, who had began investigating UFOs.
Yeah.
So Arnold arrived in Tacoma in late July with airline pilot E.J. Smith. The two of them met Dahl and Chrisman, examined the boat, and conducted interviews. Dahl and Crispin did not produce the pictures, however. Dahl also told Arnold that his son had just disappeared. The son that had his arm hurt.
No!
But I will say that later it was found out that he was found waiting tables in Montana, but no one seems to know how he got there.
Not even him?
It
didn't say.
Yeah.
He's maybe just a fucking troublemaker.
Right. So, I mean, if I had space rock land on, I would probably
need a minute in Montana.
So on the afternoon of July 31st, Captain Lee Davidson and First Lieutenant Frank Brown of the U.S. Army Air Force, that's when they were still together.
Oh, I never knew that.
Flew up to Tacoma from Hamilton Field, California. In addition to being pilots, the two men were intelligence specialists.
Okay.
They met with Arnold, Smith, and Crispin for several hours. One of the officers said that he thought there might have been something to the story, but that they would have to still leave around midnight. So they were in a hurry to be at Hamilton Field on August 1st because it was the day set for the Air Force to be split from the Army. So
okay.
They had to be there. The two officers flew out of McCord Airfield around 2 o'clock in the morning on a B-25 bomber with a crew of 2 other men. About 20 minutes later, the plane crashed near Centralia, Washington.
Get the fuck out.
The 2 enlisted men managed to parachute, but Davidson and Brown were killed. Also,
that seems fucking sketchy as hell.
Also making them the Air Force first casualties.
Okay, I see what you did there. Yeah, it's awful.
So Dahl and Crispin said that the Air Force officers took some of the strange metal on board with them.
Okay.
Some people thought that they heard anti-aircraft guns shoot the plane down. The local newspapers and FBI received phone calls stating that the plane was shot down to cover up information that Brown and Davidson had found while investigating this whole
story. What does
story.
Anti-aircraft weapons mean?
Because you can't just like shoot down a plane with like a handheld gun.
Oh,
so they're like specifically built
big ass
rocket launchers.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Because of the loss of life, the Air Force broadened its investigation and the FBI launched their own. The Air Force investigators determined that the crash had just been a terrible accident. Of course, one of the engines was said to caught fire, and the men began to bail out. Before Brown and Davidson could get out, however, a wing broke, struck the tail section, which also broke off. The plane went into a tailspin, and gravity,
they
forced
still
them
could have
inside.
jumped out if they had parachutes. I think they took the fucking parachutes when they jumped. Sorry, conspiracy theory.
Another Air Force investigator spoke with Dahl and Crispin and visited their boat. He stated that the damage he saw did not match the damage that the 2 sailors, quote-unquote, described. There were no piles of metal anywhere on Maury Island, and the existing samples looked like slag from a metal smelter. Whatever that means.
It doesn't sound like aliens.
Doesn't sound alien. His conclusion matched that of the FBI investigator that Dahl and Crispin had faked the incident to gain publicity for just a magazine article.
That's a stretch.
The FBI warned Dahl and Crispin that their hoax had not succeeded, and then if they just dropped the matter, the government would not prosecute the 2 men for fraud, which had resulted now in the death of 2 officers.
Shit.
At first, Dahl and Crispin went along. They made statements that the story was fake and simply refused to give interviews on the matter.
Right.
But a few years later, in January of 1950, Crispin stated that the incident had happened, and Kenneth Arnold included Maury Island in a 1952 book, The Coming of the Saucers.
It's an interesting name for a book.
Right. Today, most people believe that Crispin and Dahl did fake the incident.
Really?
Just making this hoax that went absolutely out of control. Other people believe that the U.S. government was behind the conspiracy that may have involved anything from UFOs dumping nuclear waste in the Puget Sound. They believe a shadow government agency sabotaged the B-25 bomber in order to essentially eliminate the investigators and be able to blame Dahl and Crispin. Some investigators recently visited the crash site, hoping to find some strange rocks and prove things one way or the other. But so far, still to this day, no answers have been found.
Well, the thing of it is, I mean, if it really happened and there was a cover-up, somebody would have went and grabbed all that shit.
Right.
Whether it's lava rock falling from the sky or white metal.
I should have looked.
Not a single flashy thing in that story, though. You had me set up with the Men in Black tees.
I know. No green people, no gray people.
Just saucers.
So, Maury Island, Washington. Is it? Oh, it's not like, it's just south of Seattle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So just like a little teeny tiny island?
Not really. It's
No?
pretty big.
Do people live there? Or
Yeah, there are streets.
Huh.
So I'll post a screenshot of the map on our Instagram story just so you guys get an idea of exactly where it is. Because I was thinking it was like some island that was like, I mean, not too far, but like pretty secluded, so that if these things were chilling there for 5 minutes, more than just this guy would have seen it. Also, I want to talk to the kid.
I want to talk to the kid. The fact that he just took off like that tells me something fucking happened.
Right. Well, and like, how bad did it hurt his arm?
Yeah.
If they went to the hospital.
They didn't really get into that
I know.
at all.
Poor dog.
Oh, the puppy. I mean, he loses his puppy and then his son just takes off. This poor guy. I don't know. I get the vibe that, I mean, why would they do it just to get an article published in a magazine?
That's
you know
my
what I'm
thing.
saying?
Right. And like, they were just like regular everyday people.
Yeah.
So what would they gain from it?
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing.
Like, they're loggers. I don't know. I don't feel like they're the type of people that just like want fame for fame,
No.
you know?
And even back then, I don't know that they would have known that they would have gotten fame
True.
from a story like this. I mean, nowadays, every Tom, Dick, and website wants to hear about your UFO sightings. But back then, I don't know. It's insane. Great story, though.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was one of those that I kind of like accidentally, of course, found. And there's actually just a lot of stuff on it. Like, it wasn't hard to find.
It was really detailed,
information.
too.
So that's why I was like, how have I never even heard of this?
But how did we go from like flying donuts to like the center hole filled in with like a little dome on it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it was like the next version of an upgrade, like a car.
Maybe.
Let's fill the middle. We can put more gray men in there. Oh, we have some stories from listeners. Do you want to read one of those?
Yes.
Cool. I'm just going to pick one at random. If you guys listening have a story that you'd like us to read on the show, send it on in at oddityfilescrew@gmail.com. This story is from Denise, and it was sent to our Gmail account. So Denise says, as a child in the 60s, I lived in Aurora, Illinois until I was 5 in a haunted house. I don't know why it was haunted until I was in my 30s. My room was a big open area at the top of the stairs. From the time I was about 3 until we moved, there was a man who would walk up the stairs. Okay. He never did anything but walk up and down the stairs. I could handle that kind of ghost.
Yeah,
you know his routine,
Yep.
where he's going, where he's going to be. The first time I saw him, I ran him to my parents' room and got my dad to come get rid of the man. Of course, by the time he got up and came in there, it was gone. Usually,
Naturally.
that's the way it works. And I was left with a really pissed off dad. I could see my dad. He'd be like, Christina, what are you talking about? Go to bed. After that experience, I decided not to mess with telling Dad about it anymore and just deal with it. The next time I saw him, I turned my light next to my bed on and he vanished. The time after that, I talked to him and told him, hey, I'm a little kid and I don't like you coming up the stairs.
Okay.
Adorable, and I hope it worked. Let's find out. This went on for a couple years, off and on. I learned to just tell him to bugger off, and he would go away. He was never really scary or did anything. His visits were less frequent, and over time, he quit coming. I found out he lived in the apartment before us, killed himself on a couch in the room at the bottom of the stairs.
Oh, lovely.
I want to know how she found that out. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. The couch was still there, and it had been reupholstered by the owner of the house. No. Ew, Clayton. Ew. Oh, that freaks me out. Supposedly, he did it because of gambling debts. The house is a big place and had 3 apartments in it. The 3rd floor was one apartment. The front of the house had a 1st and 2nd floor and part of the basement for their apartment. We lived in the back with the other half of the 1st and 2nd floor and part of the basement. There was also a 3-car garage we all shared. When it was a single-family dwelling, it was a mansion-like place. Sorry it's so long-winded. Please edit as needed. Thank you so much, Denise. And it was just called, the subject line was just haunted house. And it just says, just use Denise for a name. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Sort of.
But get rid of that couch.
Yeah, toss that. Burn it.
Oh, that freaks me out. And I don't know why. It's like I literally felt like I was going to throw up when I read that. But this is what we love.
Yes.
Stories with a beginning, middle, and end. But still, Denise, let us know how you found out about said man. I'm assuming it was the landlord's like, oh, yeah, Bob killed himself. Couch is still in there, but I reupholstered it.
Right.
Everything's fine. But yeah, we love you guys' stories, and we can't get enough of them. And we are running short, guys. So get on it. Send us your stories, even if you don't want to type it out, which is hard sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we did last week, Marjorie just recorded it on her phone and sent it to the same email, oddityfilescrew@gmail.com. I did forget to mention our upcoming live podcast in Richmond, Virginia on February 28th at 8:15 at GalaxyCon in room E23 A.
Yeah.
So you want to write that number down on your hand because that's a long one to remember.
Yes, it is.
And our Patreon, I forgot to mention.
Yes, our Patreon.
Which, when we're done, I just want to record a quick little video for that. We'll just, like, every once in a while, I'll come up with a question and we'll each answer it. And we'll throw it up there. So it's patreon.com/oddityfiles, or if I made it today. So if you go to oddityfiles.com, click support, it takes you immediately to that page. We want to thank Doug McClock because we have to. Yes. He signed up for the $20 amount. And I really want to give a huge shout out to Ryan Hoke.
Yes.
He submitted a huge amount of money, and we appreciate that for him. That dollar amount wasn't even listed on there. I don't know how he did it. But Ryan Hoke has been such a great supporter.
Yes, he really
of
has.
us. What a neat guy. Hopefully we'll see him at a Comic-Con again soon. We've got a show on Amazon Prime.
3 seasons?
3 seasons. Check out season 3. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
The evidence we got. So proud of it. Rate, review, and subscribe.
As always.
Yeah, I got some new stickers. So I'm thinking about reenacting the whole win a prize
the review
for that.
thing, yeah.
If I can do it like where it'll fit in a regular envelope and I don't have to go to the fucking post office, I may be able to just put a stamp on it and send it. So let us know what you think about that. So yeah, this is episode 62.
Yeah.
It's insane. But you guys are fucking amazing.
You really, really are.
I can't even tell you how much we adore you and that you give us a chance to research fucking weird stories on the internet and tell you all about it. Also, we'll take suggestions on everything. The Twitter at Oddity Files, Instagram at Oddity Files. We're on Facebook, and we have a Facebook fan group that is growing every day, and we appreciate all the fun in there. I look forward to the memes and weird shit that's on there all the time. But it's on Facebook. Just search for Oddity Files fan group. Click join. We'll approve you.
Yeah. That's all there is
we don't
to
judge.
it. No.
Yeah. But I'm Kitsie Duncan. That's Clayton Abbott. And you guys have been listening to Oddity Files. Weird is the new cool.
Goodbye.
Ghost on. Oddity Files is an independent production. Intro music created by DJ Jimmy. Wah, wah. The opinions expressed on this show are ours and ours alone. Our logo was created by me. If you like the show and would like to support us, you can watch Oddity Files on Amazon Prime. You can buy merch at oddityfiles.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Oddity Files or on Facebook at facebook.com/oddityfiles. You can even join our weird little Facebook group called Oddity Files Fan Group. It's a closed group, so you'll need approval. But we do approve everyone. Most importantly, you can help us spread the word. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. Tell your boyfriend. Tell your ex-boyfriend. Tell your grandma. Tell everybody. Share and retweet. Just help us get the word out. We appreciate each and every one of you and couldn't do this without you. If you have a story you want to know more about, or a personal story you'd like to hear us read during an episode, email us at oddityfilescrew@gmail.com. If you have a corrections corner, go ahead and give us a call. It's 317-300-6699. If you have a venue you'd like us to do a live podcast at, reach out at oddityfilescrew@gmail.com. Also, take a couple minutes. rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on all the major podcast apps. It also helps us get out there and in front of the public eyes. And remember, kids, weird is the new cool.